All right, let's move on to our next topic. So, ADUs have been a hot topic recently in our world.
Mm.
Last week we touched on it slightly, but I thought we could go into it a little bit deeper and really explore the world of ADUs, how that's gonna maybe be a solution for the affordable housing market, how it might not be a solution. And since you guys have, access to hundreds and hundreds of customers who are investor types, have you guys heard any investors thinking about pulling out money from their HELOCs or refinance and investing into ADUs?
Yes, a lot, especially in California, because the laws, California is, Los Angeles, San Francisco is for ADUs. So even around my neighborhood, my neighbors, they are looking at doing it. But it's not as easy as you may think. It is cheaper because it's going to help to, small space. One house you can divide it up to now, being able to rent out the back or to have your growing family live in the back. So in the small space, you can actually now create more livable space for more people. So yes, absolutely. ADUs are definitely like a great thing if the government supports it. If the city they with permitting and all that, it's very much a hassle. My neighbors just are going through it and it takes forever. If the agency itself actually um can make it go faster, ADUs definitely, I would see that there's going to be more that comes up.
And the thing is, Irvine's a little bit more unique because they control how the communities are and the population density per area. My area up in like North OC, for example, I'm seeing more of them, especially in areas I never thought because of zoning restrictions. Because like area that we're in up here, there's a lot of minimum lot sizes, so you can't subdivide all of these half-acre lots beyond like lower than 20,000 square feet. But across the street, there's like a community of like those more spec built homes, right? And if we
Mhm.
can get more ADUs, it'll provide more access. And I see a lot of people actually doing it. So I do like even when I check on Redfin, for example, I saw like a couple houses down the street, they built an ADU, and that 1,300 square foot ADU is going for 3,600 a month in rent.
There's some sort of California state incentive to build ADUs, right? I think it's what, $40,000?
I'm not too familiar with the exact details behind it because there are a lot of those programs, there's like a set budget and a window to request it. And the last time I saw it, it was like requested and approved and then gone within like days. So it's nice when it's there.
Yeah, I just did a quick Google search. LA County ADU incentives, $40,000 for pre-development and non-recurring closing costs, and ADU accelerator program, which connects homeowners with qualified tenants. Okay, so you qualify for this if you're renting it out. If it's a backyard office, if it's additional space just for yourself, owner occupied, I don't think you qualify for this, right?
I'm not
Yeah, but you got to
sure.
look at those dates very carefully, Peter, because a lot of those programs, they're really great PR, but if the budget's like a set dollar amount, usually it's gone within days. Because like I remember
Mhm.
there was one like a year or two ago, Cal Halfa offered Dreams for All, and that was
Oh
supposed to be like the
yes,
miracle loan, and that was gone
Hmm.
within like 2 weeks.
it's like the
It just
lottery, and
you have to
every
pay
realtor
for it,
was
Oh,
and it's
talking
only
about
approved
it.
lender.
wow. So
It
it's
was a
not
good
just
sales tactic.
interesting. So once the budget dries up, they don't offer it anymore, but the website's still there.
It's not an unlimited budget. If it was, it would be a game changer, and the state would be even in more debt. So that's a different story. We can go into how about we compare California to the government later for the next episode?
To the
What our
federal
taxes
government?
look like.
Oh my God. Okay, I don't want this to become a political channel, but we get into it a lot. We get into it because it affects our industry so much. Just these
Yes.
macro level policies and in the state level policies, federal level policies, it directly impacts what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so like Nikki said, Los Angeles, Portland, Austin, these cities make ADU construction and permitting a little bit easier. But um, conversely, a lot of states haven't really gone with that trend yet. There's just a ton of parking requirements, setback rules, owner occup owner occupancy mandates, and there's even HOA restrictions, utility hookup costs, and a lot of these
Mm.
extra things that you don't consider. Sorry, extra things that are attached, extra costs that are attached to an ADU make it really frustrating and expensive. It's not just the cost of the building itself; it's all the amenities and the legal requirements that make it very expensive and frustrating, more than what the sticker price is. So, Jason, do you think the ADUs are the answer to increasing inventory supply without, let's say, touching the fabric of the neighborhood?
I mean, it's always going to be a challenge because US is very unique in the way that the building codes are, like as a nation. I don't think the ADUs are going to be the answer to fix everything. It's going to help
Mm,
achieve the long-term goal for affordability, but I don't think there is a silver bullet to this, Peter, because with the ADUs, it is a solution. It's one part of the puzzle. It's going to require a massive change to, I think, the overall country and the way zoning laws are for communities, because as they continue to add ADUs or allow ADUs in other states or regions, it will bring affordability back, and it will probably bring a premium in rent too for homeowners because it's going to get them into neighborhoods potentially with the better schools or preferred schools without having to pay a tremendous amount of money to buy a home in that neighborhood, as an example.
yeah, that's a really good point. So, my neighborhood, I think the majority of homeowners are near or in retirement, so the schools are suffering a lot. They're having to cut back resources on some of the schools in the city because there's not enough kids. So,
Mm,
like you said, yeah, well, there's not enough young families. So it's just the area is kind of being priced out for starters. Even though the size of the homes is it's right size for starter families, but no one's selling. People are just sitting and enjoying their homes. That it's free and clear, and the schools are the ones that are suffering. And schools really determine housing prices overall. So in the long term, it's not looking good for this community because if
mm.
schools aren't doing well, it's not going to get funded, then all of our house prices are going to drop.
No, it makes sense because I'm seeing that problem with my daughter. Her school, there's grades where they're merging them together because there's not enough students.
Oh.
So I believe like second and third grade are combined into one class because there are just not enough kids.
So that is like a long-term problem. We're gonna see how maybe in 5, 10 years, how that will affect the home prices of certain communities, right? And I think city officials really need to think about that. So, incentivizing younger, newer families to come in, it is annoying, I guess, for people that have lived in the city for a long time. Maybe they don't, um, it's not comfortable for them anymore when there's more traffic, when there's more noise, right? Maybe. But if you don't have young kids and you don't have the schools functioning well, your house value, your equity is not going to stay, the same forever.
I guess kind of like brings up to the point that a lot of people are also keeping their houses because they have those low rates from 2020 to 2021. So they're not wanting to get out of their loan. So that's why like inventory is hurting too. So maybe ADUs can add more families into the neighborhood that is needed because with the family of four or family of three, the expenses are high. So ADU can actually bring in a family that otherwise wouldn't have been able to get into the neighborhood and help grow their school that way as well.
What about rent control? Nikki, do you have customers um, that are maybe like apartment complex owners or they have rental properties and they're affected by rent control? How does that play into maybe as a solution for affordable housing, the government coming in and capping the rates?
Well, the thing is that with how much the house prices are in California, where what you get for rent, it actually just doesn't really make sense. Like we're not seeing a lot of actually like investors uh, buying a house in California to rent because it's so expensive, they're going to other states. So basically, like, controlling rent even more, I I don't know would that help. Actually, like I think that right now there's a big gap in terms of like how much a house is worth. If you to buy a investment property right now compared to what rent they can get out of it. So it's not balancing out the debt that you get from from a loan. Let's say you take out a loan, you put 20% down compared to the rent that you're gonna get, it it's actually not making sense.
So from the government, it's like, oh, we got to do something. Let's just do this blanket policy, rent control, boom. So now we have affordable housing. But then on the other side, the demand side, it's like, okay, well, we're just not gonna make, we're just not gonna do more rental units because it's just not worth it for the investor, right? The people with the money, they were like, it's not gonna cash flow, so I'm gonna put my money somewhere else. Rent control happens, but it backfires, right?
Isn't Section 8 basically rent control? Have you heard
Section
of
8 is
Section
rent
8?
control. Hmm.
So it's like there's specific markets where there's definitely a high demand. So a lot of it's like I can think of people in the southeast near the Gulf of Mexico, or I'm sorry, Gulf of America now, right? So
Yeah.
it's those Gulf states. There's a lot of Section 8 rentals out there because I have investors that I've worked with that will buy homes at great prices, renovate them, and they just can't get it done fast enough to meet the demands of that type of housing. So the challenge I run into with those customers is more so liquidity with low value homes. And what I mean by low value is like you buy a property for 10, 15, 20 grand, but it costs 40, 50, 60 grand to rehab it. So when you get into those types of situations, there aren't many commercial lenders out there willing to do that type of loan because it doesn't matter if it's a $60,000 loan, it takes as much work as a $600,000 loan. So to put the resources, the cost, the manpower, it's it doesn't make them want to do it, frankly, is what I'm saying. The biggest challenge. It's like they don't feel incentivized to do that loan, which is horrible in my opinion because there's a huge demand for it with the population that needs it, but we can't get them that housing fast enough, and it's limited to what a few individuals are willing to do, and then they have real good intentions of doing it too. And I love those projects when I run into them, but it's very hard to place, very hard.
Maybe if the government gave incentives to lenders like tax free on Section 8 projects, that might be something, right? Because you can get a little bit, at least you can eke out a little bit more profit on the lender side.
Yeah, I mean, if there was like some sort of like rent control type program for lenders to incentivize doing that, that would be
Hmm.
amazing. Because then if a lender does 1,000 loans and they can dedicate like 0.5% of the loans they originate for the year to those types of projects and benefit that way, that would change whole communities. It'd be amazing to see that.
But that's really interesting. So they maybe government can work both ways by capping the rents, but also incentivizing liquidity into the markets to get more of these projects built out.
People actually really love getting, the Section 8s because it's always on time, and the amounts actually are a lot of times higher than what the average rent prices are in the area. So, like Jason says, is certain states, the states that have lower that the values of their properties are still pretty decent. Those are the ones that are people are attacking right now. So compared to like California here, it's too high to get it as an investment property. So it definitely
Hmm.
works on the other side.
Let's think about when I drive around the neighborhoods, I see a lot of new spec homes that have no backyards. They have no front lawn, no backyard, right? It's just maximized a lot. And then there's also older neighborhoods, kind of like where I'm in, where there is a backyard, there is a front yard, um, but not really room for a car to pass through. So there's a lot of challenges, right? Because with a certain size of ADU, you need parking space for rentals because there's street cleaners. So where are you going to park the car during street cleaning days? So there's all these like weird things that we have to address. What kind of situation would you say makes sense for an investor to build an ADU in their backyard and it makes sense? Make it worthwhile for an investor to say, I'm going to pull out money from my home equity using a HELOC, let's say, and dump it into building out an ADU or
Uh-huh.
buying a prefabricated model and then hooking up all the electricity lines and new plumbing lines. Like that's all a lot of work, permitting, and it's gonna cost just the prefab models that I've seen on the internet. They're anywhere between like 30 to 100,000, depending on the
Uh,
size. And then let's say it's still not bad, right? 100,
yeah, not bad.
yeah, it's not bad.
That's only like a third of the actual cost when you start looking into it. Because like if you look at those pre-built prefab homes that they have for ADUs, they'll show you it's like 155 bucks or $155,000. But then when you actually get quotes for site permitting, foundation, everything, it's like another 200 grand. So like by the time you actually place that 1,200 square foot ADU, it's like $300,000. Is it worth it? I think it might be, just if you own your home free and clear, because you increase square footage, you increase the value of your home. I think it'll be depending on the county, it'll probably be a step up basis, so it's not going to be a huge change in your property tax. But if you're older and your primary home is too big for you to maintain by yourself, turning that ADU into your primary and renting out the front home could be a solution.
Mm.
It's actually renting a pretty smart one. If I ever retire, maybe I should just put an ADU in my side yard and I'll live in that and then rent out the house, you know?
Okay, if you're sitting on equity and you're not using it to grow your wealth, you're missing out. Smart investors know that capital isn't meant to sit still, it's meant to work. A HELOC can give you access to the funds you need to seize opportunities, like an ADU in your backyard. Banks tighten lending when the market shifts. If you wait too long, you might miss your window, and we know that window could close in 2025. If you've been driving around your neighborhood looking for your next investment deal, or if you're one of the lucky ones who got into that 3% rate and can't move, but you need more space and you want to maybe add an extension, or like I said, an ADU, and you don't have that cash, you got options. Accessing your home's equity could be the key to expanding your investments without touching your reserves. Click in the link in the description to see if you qualify for our 5-day HELOC program or one of our other 130 plus investor friendly loan options. All right, back to the show.
My uncle and my mom actually, to think of it, like they do that. They rent out the front house while they live in their back unit, you know? So
Oh.
yes, yes, you can get more money out of it as well as like as they're older, like they don't need the space. So they're actually comfortable to
Hmm.
live in the back house.
And then when you invite your friends, you kick out the tenants and you have a party in the main house.
Well, I don't know about
No, I'm
that.
just
But yeah,
joking. No, we can't do that.
It's
So how did your aunt and your family members figure out the parking? Did they build like a parking entrance on the side, brand new, or was there already parking on the back?
Well, there's parking. So, for example, like my uncle's house, there's actually parking in between the two units. So, there was enough parking. Basically, it's in Alhambra, and he has like a pretty big property. So the back was from a garage turned into a unit, and he and my aunt lives there comfortably. So parking was okay there, but my mom's actually there's not much parking, and basically like she also built a gate to kind of gate the front of the garage, you know, because it's LA. There's not the HOA concerns or something like that, not like, you know, in Orange County. So LA is more relaxed. Well, let's just say like it's, you know, people do more stuff in their house, right? Where basically like it could have should have been a yard. They My mom paved it and parks the car there.
yeah, it's different too, because like San Diego, for example, got rid of. You got to fact check me on it. I think it's either San Diego or some of the Orange County cities. They
Hmm.
temporarily released the requirement of parking spaces
Mm.
to build ADUs, and I saw it in the news on a home somewhere in San Diego. The guy bought a house and put 14 units on it or something
Oh
with no
I'm sorry,
wow.
parking
14?
restrictions. Yeah, something ridiculous. It was a single family home and he put like
Oh.
12 townhomes on it or something. So it's like there's a
Oh,
huge uproar because they lifted the parking requirements. So because that was gone, he was able to put up as many units as he wanted within the square footage of
Wow.
that lot permit.
how do you put 14 units? Are they like 100 square foot?
No, it was big. It was a big lot, but
Oh, I
he did
see.
it
I would
into a
say probably
neighborhood where it was predominantly, I think, more expensive single family homes, and it had a good sized lot to put all of those townhomes on it. So it was like multiple. It was I think like four buildings, but each one had 4 units in it or something.
must be San Diego because I have a customer that actually is in Oceanside that well for him he was trying to split the lot. So going back to zoning, going back to all those issues, it's ADU will work out if government agency in the area actually supports it, right? But if they have all these layers of steps you got to do and then time you have to wait for one step after another, then that's what kind of drags it back. But yeah, like space that is limited. So, example like my mom's home in LA, the space is so limited, so then it's very tight. It's just everything is so tight, but she's able to put, you know, consider like two family into one house. So ADUs does help to increase population, family size in the neighborhood.
It seems like ADU is one answer, and it is case by case. And I don't know. I'm like looking at my backyard and like, can my backyard start making me money?
Yeah,
We
I
put a
mean,
garden in there during the pandemic, and then I was like, I'm spending more money on this garden than actually buying the tomatoes that, because buying the soil, water cost, my own time, right? All of this goes into it. I'm like, I'm losing money on these tomatoes.
hey
No,
Peter,
but they're
it's
really good
Zen.
tomatoes.
It's for
I
your
like.
Zen. Well, if you have, 550, let's just say like 600, you could literally put two bedrooms with the living room and a kitchen, not a big kitchen, but like
Mhm.
a kitchenette with a bathroom. Yeah, it works. 600.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like the San Diego one, that was just nuts. If you Google it, you could probably find it. But when I heard that in zoning law, it was just you don't know. It's like what's gonna happen? It's the Wild West with ADU still, in my opinion, because there's enough interest in it, but I don't think there's enough info out there to see the full impact long term. So it's like if say for example like a nicer neighborhood with a really good school, how would the neighborhood feel if you suddenly built two ADUs on your property and everybody in the street was required to do so? That would change the whole neighborhood dynamic, right? So you might go from a street that had 20 people on it to 80. What's that traffic going to look like? Is the infrastructure capable of handling that?